Imagine an empire so powerful it ruled a quarter of the known world. Stretching from the sands of North Africa to the icy frontiers of Northern Europe, Rome was not just an empire of soldiers and senators, it was an empire of money. Behind the marble statues and the legions stood something few people talk about: a hidden financial system that built Rome's greatness and, eventually, destroyed it. The real secret of the Roman Empire wasn't its army, it was its money tricks. At the beginning, Rome's economy was honest and simple. In the early Republic, around the 5th century BCE, money was real. Coins were made of bronze, silver, or gold each, one worth the weight it carried. Value wasn't a concept, it was physical. When you held a coin, you held wealth itself. This hard money system created trust because it couldn't be easily faked. But as Rome grew, it discovered something more powerful than gold: a way to use money as a weapon of empire. By the 3rd century BCE, Rome was expanding fast, conquering neighbors, building roads, paying soldiers. Everything cost money at first. Rome funded its wars through taxes and spoils. Each victory brought back treasure, which was melted down into coins. It worked for a while. But expansion is addictive. The farther Rome went, the more it needed to spend. Silver and gold mines couldn't keep up, so Rome began experimenting. Instead of finding more metal, they started to stretch what they already had. It began subtly: a little less silver in each denarius, the main Roman coin, a little more copper, a little more bronze. No one noticed the coins looked the same. They even shined the same. But beneath the surface, something fundamental had changed. The Roman government had found a way to make money out of nothing by reducing its real value. This was the birth of financial manipulation. And it worked at first. With more coins, Rome could pay more soldiers, fund more wars, and keep citizens content with public games and free grain. But every shortcut comes with a price. As the silver content in coins dropped, prices began to rise. What once bought a loaf of bread now bought half. Merchants started charging more, and soldiers demanded higher pay. Inflation had arrived. By the time Emperor Nero came to power, the denarius had lost nearly 2/3 of its silver. A century later, during the 3rd century crisis, it contained less than 5%. The empire was minting shiny pieces of metal that looked valuable, but were almost worthless. Rome had discovered the ancient version of printing money. People lost faith in currency. Farmers began to hoard their crops. Traders refused coins and demanded payment in goods. The economy slowed, then fractured. The government's solution was to mint even more money, making the problem worse. One historian described it as an empire drowning in its own coins. As prices spiraled out of control, the Roman state turned to desperation. Emperor Diocletian, in a famous attempt to stop the chaos, issued a law in 301 CE called the Edict on Maximum Price. It fixed the price of everything: grain, clothes, labor, even beer. The idea was simple. If you control prices, you control inflation. But the real world doesn't follow decrees. Merchants stopped selling rather than risk punishment. Black markets appeared overnight. Inflation didn't stop, it exploded. With money now worthless, people returned to barter. Soldiers were paid in grain or land. Taxes were collected in kind, not coins. The empire that had once run on silver now ran on desperation. Trust to the foundation of all money had evaporated. This collapse wasn't just economic, it was social. As money failed, loyalty failed. Soldiers turned against their generals, provinces stopped sending taxes. The empire fractured from within. By the 4th century, Rome was no longer one empire, but many competing states struggling to survive. And yet, the ruling class found a way to protect themselves. Emperor Constantine introduced a new gold coin, the solidus, around 312 CE. It was pure and stable, designed to restore trust. The wealthy loved it, but ordinary people rarely saw it. The elites used gold. The rest of the empire still used debased silver and bronze. Rome had become a two-tier society: those with real money and those trapped with worthless coins. Sound familiar? Fast forward 17 centuries. We like to think we've evolved beyond the mistakes of the past, but the financial tricks that built and broke Rome live on today. Our modern currencies are no longer tied to gold or silver. They're backed by nothing but confidence. Governments can create money at will, and central banks do it with a few keystrokes. During the global crises of the 21st century, trillions of new dollars and euros appeared out of thin air. Economies were saved, but at a price: inflation, debt, and growing inequality. Like Rome, our money looks the same, but beneath the surface, it's changing. In the United States, the dollar has lost over 90% of its purchasing power since the 1950s. In countries like Argentina or Turkey, inflation wipes out savings every few years. Even stable nations face growing debt. Global public debt now exceeds $300 trillion, more than tripled the world's GDP. And yet, like Rome, we keep minting, printing, and pretending. The same pattern repeats, because the logic never changes. When a state grows beyond what its economy can sustain, it turns to monetary manipulation. When that manipulation fails, it turns to control. Rome froze prices. Modern nations raise interest rates, impose capital limits, and regulate markets. The names change, but the cycle is eternal. The real danger isn't inflation, it's the loss of trust. Once people stop believing in money, they stop believing in the system that issues it. Rome fell when the denarius became a symbol of corruption. What happens when the dollar or any modern currency faces the same fate? There are 3 lessons from Rome's story that we can't afford to ignore. First, money is trust, not paper or metal. Second, inflation is a silent thief. It doesn't just raise prices. It transfers wealth from the many to the few. Every devalued coin in Rome made the poor poorer and the elite richer. Today's world isn't much different. Our world stands on the same knife's edge. Governments tell us debt is sustainable, money is stable, and growth is endless. Rome told itself the same story. It worked until it didn't. The empire that mastered the art of money also became its greatest victim. If this story made you think differently about money, share it. The same tricks that built the ancient world are still shaping ours. Understanding them isn't just history, it's survival. Because every empire thinks it's too smart to repeat the past, right until the moment it does.